why you might want or need to use a trust as a part of your estate plan. All right, we talked about a trust being a basket. You're taking your assets and you're putting them into a basket, which is controlled by your trustee for the benefit of your beneficiaries, right? You have these three roles. The number one reason you may want to use this as part of your estate plan is to avoid probate. What is probate? Probate is the supervised court process by which someone is appointed as your executor and they go through the whole process of transferring your assets to your beneficiaries. It can be time consuming. Depending on the state, every state's different. Arizona, for instance, very, very formal. Going through probate is painful. Your fiduciary, at a minimum, is going to have to watch several hours of online courses to learn how to be a fiduciary. It's very formal. So the number one reason to use a trust would be to avoid probate. You avoid probate by, once these assets are in this basket, this is like a third person. Let's say you pass away. Death has now come for the trustors. Oh no. Rather than having these assets have to go through probate, through a court process, if they're in this basket, it doesn't matter. They don't own these assets. The trust owns these assets, and instead what you have is you have your successor trustees come in. So your sister or your brother or sibling or some other person comes in, takes over control of these assets, still for the benefit of your beneficiaries, but of course now they're dead as well. If they're all the same people, bam, well, that's where it goes to their successor. And that's where, if the trustor is also the beneficiary and the trustee and they pass away, then you have a successor trustee who comes in taking over controls, who might be, your sister or brother, for the benefit of your kids, right, as a successor beneficiaries. So the number one reason to use a trust as a part of your estate plan is to avoid probate, because any assets that are in your trust, in the basket that is your trust, are going to avoid probate. One of the first questions I ask somebody, do you have children from a previous relationship? This is important. If you have kids from a prior relationship and you're married now, you're in your second, third, fourth wedding, marriage, whatever it is, you want to make sure that your kids from your prior relationships are being taken care of when you pass away, and you may not want to rely on their step-parent. So we all know the story of the evil step-parents from Disney, so make sure your kids aren't reliant upon their step-parent. You may want to use a trust to set assets aside specifically for their benefit and not for your spouse. Because if you just do a simple will, everything goes to my spouse, they may or may not take care of your children, right? If it's a step-parent. And then number three is if you own real estate in multiple states. If you own a house in Arizona, but then you also have a house in Michigan or Ohio or whatever. If you own real estate in multiple states, each and every state in which you own real estate, you're going to have to go through this probate process. Those are the three reasons why you might want to use a trust in your estate plan.